Yeah, I'll react to that, sure. Philomena Cunk, guys. Preemptive like. The Soviet Onion. John Lennon, and Putin. Let's go. It's pretty short, so maybe coronavirus after. My name's Connor. Original link to the video, top the description. Right below that, link to the Discord. Click on it. Send you right over there. I have my main channel, McJibbin. And my, Discord. My second channel, Mr. McJibbin. The second channel is kind of, I like to record a lot of videos, and I don't want to flood the main channel too much, so kind of videos that I have that if anyone wants to watch more of them, I kind of put them on the second channel so that, you know, they don't get overcrowded, if that makes sense. Let's do it.
Vast land to the east. Russia, a vast land to the east. It's the first time we've mentioned it in this series, but it's been there all along.
At the start of the 20th century, Russia was a vast empire, just like the Marvel Cinematic Universe is today.
The average Russian was a pheasant, but he dreamt of being a man, preferably a wealthy one. Because while the Russian pheasants lived in poverty, the rich lived in St. Petersburg. The top Russian was called Tsar Nicholas, which is Russian for King Nicholas.
He was allowed to rule the country like a dictator, which I've been advised to say isn't how Russia works today.
A world like this, where the masses toil for pennies, while a tiny elite grow rich, seems so obviously unfair and unthinkable to us today. We can scarcely imagine what it must have been like.
One man who thought it was ein load of Scheiße was German thinker Karl Marx. It's hard to tell, but if you look closely at this photograph, you might notice he had a beard.
Marx also had a vision, which he wrote down in a book called The Communist Manifesto.
Today it's one of those books that boffins talk about, but no one actually reads, like all books. But back then it was a hit, particularly popular amongst the 18 to 35 anti-capitalist revolutionary demographic.
One Russian who read the book was the man currently starring in this photograph, Vladimir Ilyich John Lennon.
Lenin imagined a world with no possessions. I wonder if you can. Nothing to kill or die for, a brotherhood of man. And he chose to bring it about with a violent uprising.
In 1917 he got his chance. Thanks to food shortages, people started rioting for bread, like ducks do. Lenin and his followers hacked into the Winter Palace and uploaded a communist government.
Russia changed its name to USA, or sometimes. What was the Soviet Onion?
Well, I think you're labouring under a misapprehension, and you probably mean the Soviet Union.
No, it's onion. I saw it on a bit of paper earlier.
Well, it's probably been misspelt, or you can't read very well. But I think that you mean, in historical terms, the Soviet Union, or the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics.
I don't want to be rude, but I think you're mansplaining a bit. Can we stick to the topic of the Soviet Onion, please?
Okay.
What exactly was it? If you don't know, it's okay to say. You know, I won't judge you.
Well, if you want to talk about sort of Russian Soviet vegetables, we can. I mean, it was a deeply agrarian country, and so there were lots of onions, lots of potatoes, lots of other things.
Did they have turnips?
I think so. Cheap, easy to grow, hardy, great in a stew.
So how come you know so much about vegetables? Have you got an allotment?
What is a
In
turnip?
1924, Lenin left the band to concentrate on existing only in an afterlife he didn't believe in.
Isn't he still, excuse me, I burped. Like that?
Left the band to concentrate on existing only in an afterlife he didn't believe in.
Lenin's place was taken by Joseph Stalin, who presided over a ruthless crackdown that killed, starved or exiled millions of people, although on the plus side he had a friendly moustache.
Okay. All right, let's do the coronavirus one.
No one knows exactly where it came. No one knows exactly where it came from. Although there's a theory someone bought it at a market in China and then spread it around the world. To be honest, it's a scandal it was even on sale in the first place. My mate Paul says the virus is spread by a new 5G phone signal, but the mainstream media is trying to cover that up just because it isn't true. Phone companies say place. My mate Paul says the virus is spread by a new 5G phone signal. But the mainstream media is trying to cover that up just because it isn't true. Phone companies say 5G is safe, but they can't know because 5G is totally unlike anything we've seen before, apart from 4G and 3G and 2G and 1G, which I think was called WAP, probably to put us off the scent. Anyway, Paul sent me this really interesting video where David Icke managed to get the message out.
If they start firing out 5G at 60 gigahertz, they're going to have a lot of people who are going to keel over because they can't absorb oxygen.
I thought he was talking out of his arse, but then Paul explained how the phone companies use a Jewish computer to replace everything David Icke says with absolute bullshit in a bid to discredit him. As soon as he said that, the way David Icke doesn't make sense suddenly made sense. It's like seeing through the Matrix, which also runs on 5G. People started setting fire to 5G phone masts to stop the spread and also to stop people being able to ring the hospital, which is important in a pandemic. Some people said we should do what other people in Europe were doing, but we couldn't see what they were doing because they were all indoors. And since our passports went blue, we don't have to do what they say anyway, no matter how sensible it looks. The official line was that stopping mass gatherings now wouldn't make as much difference as it would later, when there'd be more people spreading the virus they'd caught at the first load of mass gatherings.
Now is the time for everyone to stop non-essential contact with others and to stop all unnecessary travel.
But they still didn't shut things down. Instead, they advised people to avoid things like pubs, rather than ordering the pubs to actually shut. It sounds mental at first, but what it meant was pubs could remain open, endangering customers and staff, but that while that was happening, they were also watching their business dwindle away to nothing. Actually, it is still mental, isn't it? Some people said the government was secretly going for a policy of herd immunity, which is what happens when the majority of the population has already had something and won't ever get it again, so it totally dies out. Like what happened with fidget spinners. The press people also kept saying the NHS staff weren't being given enough tests, which is mad. Surely the situation's stressful enough without making them sit exams. Anyway, Matt Hancock was under loads of pressure, so he promised there'd be 100,000 tests a day by the end of April.
I am now setting the goal of 100,000 tests per day by the end of this month.
Better study.
And then afterwards he realised people had heard him say that. People complained that the government's advice was getting more confusing by the day, which was clever in itself because confused people tend to stand still going instead of moving around spreading germs, and if they cough, their hands are already over their mouths.
Catherine Tate. No, I've seen this. It was hilarious. Should we do one more?
No one knows.
Should we? No, that's enough for now. I love Philomena Cunk. I know you guys want me to watch more full episodes, and I can do that. I just saw this and wanted to watch it quick. Love y'all. Hope you're all doing well. If not, well, that's your problem, and I don't care. No, you'll be fine. Don't worry.